Hi, my name's Craig, and I studied wildlife conservation at Unity College. I'm here to tell you a little bit about my internship over the summer at the Great Basin Institute. They were located in Reno, Nevada, and they're a nonprofit that focuses on field studies, and they promote research, education, and conservation. They also work very closely with federal and state-run agencies. Some of their other programs include the Nevada Conservation Corps, the International Conservation Volunteer Exchange Program. This is the one that I was in. And they also have research associate and environmental study programs. In total, my internship was about 6 weeks, which I extended for another couple of weeks to a total of 8 weeks. Upon arrival in Reno, our first 2 days were spent at a Weed Warriors training course, which was in cooperation with the University of Nevada. At this course, we learned mostly about the common noxious and invasive weed species and which areas they're affecting most. We also learned about the chemicals we'd be using when targeting certain species and all the precautions needed. I think it was a great idea for us to be in this program because it benefited both the organization and the interns before entering the field, and it also served as an orientation for all the interns to meet one another. During my time at this internship, I covered various projects. My first project was located in Dry Valley on the California-Nevada border and would require trail work with a schedule of 4 days on and 3 days off. While in the field, we were approximately about 45 minutes to about an hour from the closest town and spent most nights camping, as you can see in this picture. The only deviation from that was during a wildfire, which required us to stay in town for safety reasons. So basically our project was to clear dirt bike and ATV trails for the Bureau of Land Management using tools such as a shovel, McLeod, and Picmatic. In total, in about 2.5 weeks, we probably cleared about 10 miles of trail, but although that sounds like a lot, it wasn't the biggest challenge. Our biggest challenge of this project was water management. Since we were in direct sunlight for pretty much the whole day, it was important to prevent dehydration, which led us to a lot of water consumption. I would say I probably lost about 10 pounds doing this trail work. Now, trail work has definitely been one of the most exhausting jobs I've had. We were up at 5 a.m. and I was asleep by 9 p.m. But it wasn't only work. I got to experience breathtaking views such as these. I got to see where gill peed, where wild horses poop. And then there was this little guy, a little blue lizard, who does push-ups when you spook him. But all in all, the entire Dry Valley project provided me with a great experience and knowledge of working in a very arid place. Over the next few weeks, I worked on 3 different projects. The first was a noxious weed removal in various parks around Reno. As you can see here, our main targets were the musk thistle, the yellow star thistle, Scotch thistle, and perennial pepperweed. So basically our team would mix into spray packs the required chemicals, water and blue dye for the purpose of knowing where we have sprayed, and we would go out to these locations and spray the patches of invasive species. Every week we would return to make sure that where we had sprayed was actually working. Now, the only issue we really ran into with spraying was that if it became too windy, which usually later in the day in Nevada it does, we weren't allowed to spray. So our supervisor improvised, and we basically had a location where we could go and we could use just shovels because the landowner didn't want spraying. Now, it's a little funny because we wore these white protective suits and we had our spray packs on, and since we were in public, we became known as the Ghostbusters to the locals. Now, it's not such a bad thing because I really enjoyed this work. It was a nice change from the trail work, and it was still a lot of work, but it was at a lower intensity. So this led to me extending my stay with the Great Basin Institute, and this gave me another project, which was located in Lake Tahoe. This was an experience of a lifetime because Lake Tahoe is absolutely gorgeous and it's such a great opportunity to be able to work up there. Our focus there was to eliminate oxeye daisies. So previous teams had been up there and they were mapping out the locations of oxeye daisies, and we would basically go to the point that they had put on the GPS and we would spray the oxeye daisies the same way we were doing with the musk thistle. As we were doing this, the Lake Tahoe area wanted us to map out cheatgrass. And if you know anything about cheatgrass, it's everywhere. It's in your hair, your socks, boots, tents, food, etc., etc. But although it's everywhere and it becomes a pain, it was a great experience because it let me fine-tune my skills with a GPS system. I was able to learn a lot more about marking a point and mapping a location to which other organizations are going to be able to use in the future. My last week, the Great Basin Institute had me working at the Galena Creek Visitor Center. Here I informed visitors about the local area and hiking trails. They also had me create 2 poster displays. One was to educate people about sage grouse, and the other was about the different types of animal fur that are part of the species of the Galena Creek area. It wasn't always work at the Great Basin Institute. We did have free time to explore. I got to check out the biggest little city in the world. Doesn't he look like a happy tourist? And the Great Basin did take us on a trip. We went to Mammoth and we got to see the Devil's Post Pile, a deserted town called Bodie, and we got to soak in some hot springs that overlooked the Sierra Nevada, which was pretty cool. And also on our weekends we had quite a bit of time, so we spent pretty much all of it at Lake Tahoe, probably too much of it at the In-N-Out Burger, and I did get a nice weekend to explore San Francisco. So all in all, I think it was a great trip. I got to meet an incredible group of friends, and lastly, I got to work for an organization that really does care for their interns. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my internship presentation. I do recommend checking out the Great Basin website under employment because they're continuously adding more jobs. At this time, I want to thank Nicole Collins from the Career Resource Center and George Matula as my faculty advisor for helping me through this process, and I want to thank Unity College for the opportunity.